Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to week 2 of Business 101, Introduction to Business. I hope that your first week went well, that you're starting to learn about my expectations and the expectations of the college, as well as being more comfortable with navigating around Blackboard. We've done our first discussion posts last week, and you should now be have a good understanding of what we expect there. If you don't, please go back and look at the guidelines for discussion posts. Each of your posts in the discussions should be a minimum of 150 words with a academic citation supporting your opinion. Also, you need to be reminded of the late policy that the first discussion post should be in by Wednesday night, or you get a 10% reduction in your grade, and then the final response to one student by the Saturday night, and then there is no makeup work for discussion posts. So hopefully you've gone out, read the syllabus, read the other information out there, and understand late policy as far as discussion posts are concerned. The biggest concern that I see so far with discussions is folks not meeting the minimum word count, not using an academic reference or citation to support your work, and then a few folks obviously not hitting the deadlines. But in order to get the best grade possible, please follow those guidelines. If you don't meet the 150 word minimum, you're going to lose 5 points. If you don't use a citation, you're going to lose 5 points. You lose 10% if you don't hit the Wednesday night for the first post, and obviously you get a 0 if you don't get everything turned in by that Saturday night. So please be careful there with the discussion posts. On your assignments, again, I would recommend that you read the late policy. Most of the assignments that I've seen have been very, very good. Again, there is a minimum word count on those assignments, and for the most part we're doing good there. And then week 3 coming up, you'll see the first test that we will have in the class, and we'll talk more about that later. But overall, I think you're doing a pretty good job getting used to the class and understanding kind of what the expectations are. We've done our first Collaborate session. That is a graded session and required by the college. And if you, for some reason, were not able to get to that, it is recorded, and you can go out and watch the recording, and then it'll give you the grade once you've watched the recording. One of the things that the school has asked us to look at and discuss is plagiarism, and so I want to remind you to use references and citations and to cite work appropriately. Don't go out to web pages and copy and then put it in as your work. You'll get a 0 on that work. Don't go copy other students and put it in as your work. Again, you'll get a 0 for that kind of thing. We use SafeAssign, which is a software program that checks your work against other students' work. It checks it against the websites and tells us if you've turned in something that's somewhere else. And sometimes that thing makes mistakes, but basically when it flags it, I check it, and if I see where you've copy pasted or used someone else's work without referencing it, you will get a 0 for that. So please be careful. Don't sell yourself short. You have good ideas, you have good thoughts, you have a brain, and that's what you're here for, to learn and grow. And so I challenge you not to go out and just simply copy everybody else's work. So hopefully you understand all those things. This week we'll be talking about ethics in business and ethics in our relationships, and that's an interesting subject. We have a good discussion question this week that usually gets a lot of good responses, and I hope that you're going to enjoy that. I think the biggest thing that I've noticed is over the years, ethics have seemed to change in terms of what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, and that's neither good nor bad. Some things are better, and some things obviously are worse. But we see in business schools and throughout industries and stuff that we have to teach ethics. A lot of HR departments have classes now on ethics. A lot of stuff out there about vision statements and goals and ethics statements by companies telling people what's acceptable and not acceptable behavior. And I think one of the things that sneaks up on a lot of people is that my interpretation of ethics and your interpretation of ethics may be totally different. In other words, what I think is perfectly acceptable and maybe right based on your culture, your upbringing, and the things that you believe, you may see it as wrong. And so then when we come together as an organization, we have people who talk about ethics but have vastly different ideas of what good or bad ethics are. So it's interesting in organizations that we have to go out now and basically teach ethics and what's acceptable and not acceptable in each organization. So that's the kind of things we'll be talking about this week. I hope you're enjoying the class. Again, if you have questions or something, please let me know, and I hope you have a good week.